Collective Awakening podcast,
sharing truth and knowledge in this time of conscious awakening
with Chris and Stephen. Hello friends, and welcome to the Collective Awakening podcast. Chris and Stephen here, sharing spiritual truth and knowledge with like-minded friends from around the world. And we welcome back a friend of ours, Lewis Powell, who we've done many podcasts with before. And we first met Lewis through kambo, actually. I think it was about 4 years ago, somewhere around there. And that connection's continued on since. So welcome, Lewis. It's great to speak to you again.
Yes, thank you for having me again. It's good to be back.
Yeah, and I think it'd be great, Lewis, for those who perhaps are aware of the work you do, just to give us a bit of an intro of the work you facilitate, that you are and have been facilitating.
It's an interesting question, and I'm glad that we've got a little bit of time for me to answer that. Sometimes I get asked these questions, like, in a taxi, or like, when you're like when you're in a little bit of a rush, and it's like, what do you do? It's like, how long have you got? More recently, I labeling myself as a alternative healthcare professional, because that's pretty much what I am. And this is like the taxi sort of title. But I will go into a little bit more about what I do, because there's obviously a lot, as you guys know, there's a little bit more to it than that. So I am the director of two community interest companies. Well, it's the same company, but there's just two different locations, called the Inner Guru, which is based in Liverpool. It's a community centre that offers mindfulness, yoga. We do all kinds of different practices there for health and well-being. We also do a lot of community projects. We work with people from the like probation services and like rehabilitation. We work with people in recovery. We do women's work and also multicultural work. So we offer these from our centres. So that's one of the sort of branches of the tree. And I'm also a kambo practitioner, or master kambo practitioner. I've been doing it for 10 years. I also run my own association of kambo practitioners, and that was established in 2018. And since then, I've taught hundreds of new practitioners all over the world, Sri Lanka, Australia, America. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been doing with myself. Most of my time is spent in working with kambo and teaching kambo and administering kambo. But I also facilitate plant medicine ceremonies as well. I've been doing them for since 2016. So I've also had quite a lot of experience doing that. And more recently, actually, I've been working with health products, believe it or not. It's something that I never thought that I would get back into again. But the proof is in the pudding with some things, as they say. And and if there's something that works and it's going to benefit your health one way or another, then I'm all for it at the end of the day, as long as no one's getting ripped off and it's all ethical and it's all being, it's all above board, and it's got scientifically backed as well, which is fantastic. So yeah, that's my new venture at the minute. But yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell what I do.
Yeah, amazing, Lewis. Just want to talk a little bit more about that aspect, for why you feel so, moving away from the kambo side and some of that other work. And it's interesting how that can change and evolve. And I think it would be great if we had a little bit of a chat, didn't we, not long ago, where you talked about the omega-3. And I think it would be quite interesting really to talk a little bit about that. Because is there a lot of people that are quite deficient in some of the omega-3s, and sort of why you get into that work more now?
Well, it's because that I found out that 97% of the people that do a blood test for their fatty acid balance are out of balance. So essentially what the fatty acid balance is. It's the ratio between the different omegas that we have. I mean, omega-3, 6 and 9s are essential fatty acids, and emphasis on the term essential, meaning that we actually need them. So the thing is that in modern diet is that most people are lacking in omega-3. Well, in fact, 97% of the people that have been tested for it are out of balance. And the way that they are out of balance is that they drastically lack omega-3, essential fatty acids. Now, the thing is with omega-3s and why they're so important is because omega-3 fatty acids actually are anti-inflammatory within themselves, and they also play a part in the cell membrane fluidity, which is essentially the way that your cells in your body. So basically, every single cell in your body is made up of every single cell has a cell membrane, and if the balance of omega-3 and omega-6 is not right, if there's too much omega-3, which is very uncommon, and there's not enough omega-6, then the cells become too soft and too fluid, which is it's almost unheard of. But the majority of people have too much omega-6, and omega-6 makes the cells become more rigid. And if the cells are rigid, it means that they don't properly they basically become inflamed. And what happens is they don't properly absorb nutrients into the mitochondria, which is essentially the part of the cell that the part of the cell that needs the nutrients. So basically, if you are not in balance with your omega-3 and omega-6, you're not going to be absorbing effectively the nutrients that you're taking in from your food sources. And also, if you're out of balance, you're also going to have systemic inflammation. And, as we all know, that inflammation is one of the biggest causes of, if not the biggest cause of non-communicable diseases in the body. So, I think that recently that was something that I'd heard about it before, like in the past, and it's been like in the last 6 months that I've really started to look into it, because I'd done a test myself and I was 24-1 out of balance, which is actually pretty unhealthy and a high risk of developing some kind of like cardiovascular disease or some kind of non-communicable disease that's created by inflammation. So I thought I was healthy. I actually thought I was healthy. I didn't realize the importance of these things, especially for your brain function, for overall function, the body, skin, aging. There's so many things, honestly. You just have to type in omega-3 into Google search and the benefits of it, and there's just so much there. So yeah, that's what got me into that.
So why do you think? Sorry, because the loop there, I've just found this really interesting. Why do you think there is so much shortage then? Is that through depletion of nutrients in the food that we've been eating the past 50 years? What's been going on? Why is there such a big shortage of the omega-3s in us and the inflammation?
The reason that there's a shortage in omega-3s, it's not just the shortage of omega-3s. I mean, that is a huge part. I mean, we get omega-3s from things like walnuts, but mainly the main source of omega-3 is fatty fish like salmon and mackerel. And unfortunately, it's hard to find a good source of salmon because of the way that it's farmed. There's a lot of mercury in the water, so that's kind of already put people off eating fish. And also not only the lack of fish, but the fact that there is omega-6 omega-6 fatty acids. There's a lot more of them now in the food that we eat, in processed food. Anything that contains things like seed oils, like rapeseed oil, it's really unhealthy. It's pro-inflammatory, and it creates this imbalance in the body. I think that years ago, people they weren't taking in as many of these omega-6s. There was a lot more balance in food. It was before processed food. You know, that obviously there wasn't as many omega-6s in the food at that point. So it's mainly, you know, the drastic amounts of omega-6s that we're getting in food products more recently, but also as well the lack of fish. I know that a lot of countries, like there's people, you know, in Europe, like you know, in places like Poland, Germany, Scandinavia, that they give children fish oil in school. They give it to them on a spoon. Do you know what I mean? It's something that like, and it's not just an old wives thing. Do you know what I mean? That about fish oil, it is actually really, really essential, really, for our overall well-being.
I mean, Fleetwood, where we based, used to be a massive fishing industry, and I remember Chris's mum talking about some of the family there that used to go fishing. They used to cut and bring, you know, pull out some of the livers from the fish, and used to eat it raw there on the boat. And, you know, they were just throwing it off the boat. And I could imagine probably people's health was a lot better during those times. But now that fishing industry is gone, now it's all McDonald's, all fast food. So no wonder people's dying. And I wonder, you know, where that's going to go in the next 50 years. But what I find really interesting is sort of the work that you're doing now, and that, you know, some of the work we've been doing at the Purple Mountain, the importance of prevention. Don't wait to be sick to get tested. Get tested now. You know, whatever age you are, get tested now. Have this blood test done. Get it checked out. You, like you said, Lewis, you didn't even know that you had those anomalies or that you were imbalanced. So it's important, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really important. And the thing is, as well, is that I actually thought that I was healthy. Like I'd been taking supplements, so it was, and you know, keeping fit, generally, you know, not eating too much of a bad diet. But you know, the proof's there when you have to when you get tested. And I think that especially in Europe now, it's a big thing. It's a bit more mainstream now. It's a bit more hip, a bit more cool. You know, like with the sort of general consensus population. That blood, you know, it's blood testing is quite common, especially in countries where there's not like, you know, like NHS sort of healthcare. People are sort of, you know, a bit more proactive in taking healthcare into their own hands. So they'll perhaps, you know, go and get blood tested, you know, in a private place, because, you know, I think that the sort of reliance on NHS healthcare is kind of like, oh, we'll get sick and then we'll go there, you know, and then they'll fix us, rather than like the proactive approach of being like, well, I need to look after my own healthcare because I don't want to pay the big bills. So I'm going to go and get blood tested and then see where I'm at. But it just makes perfect sense to me. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about how I'm almost certain that like in 5 years' time, we'll be looking back at this time now and be like, what were we doing? Just eating all these supplements and like not knowing like if we even needed it or not. You know, I'm thinking that now. I'm like, what was I doing? Just like popping them like sweets. At the end of the day, if you're popping supplements like sweets, you don't know if that's what your body needs. Your body's only going to absorb into the cells what it needs. The rest of it has to go somewhere. And that usually comes out through the skin, you know, through urine. You know, it takes a toll on the liver, and you know, it's like irresponsible, really. I mean, it's in a way, you know, that you can see that the intention's good, because people are thinking, oh, well, you know, if I'm short on this, I'm gonna, you know, I might be short on this. I'll take it just as a prevention, because the intention's right. People are wanting to prevent things by taking supplements, but it's just like you've got technology there. You've got these, you know, dry spot blood testing that you can do now, which can like accurately read anything that you've had in your system for the last 120 days. It's incredible. It's like really, really, you know, forward thinking science. And, you know, yeah, for me, it just makes complete sense. It's just like, you know, why waste money? Just blood tests, see where you're out of balance, see what you need, and then go from there.
Yeah, I felt you read my mind a bit. I thought then I was thinking I was going to ask you about the supplements we can build up in our cupboards, and actually in stepping sort of into the omega-3 of clearing some of these supplements, or the fact having too many now. But as well, what I'd like to ask you, Lewis, is the differences you found since from having that test. that come up deficient, and then from there, what changes and benefits have you experienced?
So I've been using 3 different products, and for the first month, which is this part of this health protocol that I'm like promoting now, because I've just, the science behind it and the products are like, I haven't come across anything as good, to be honest. And I have tried a lot of products over the years of healing my own issues. Especially I had gut health issues, inflammatory bowel disease, a lot. So as you probably can tell, I've tried a lot of things. But for me, the first thing that I tried was with these particular products was the omega-3 balance oil. And this particular balance oil, within a couple of weeks, I just found that my energy levels were higher. I found that I was able to focus better. What I found, the main benefit from it was that I found that after like 3 p.m., I struggled to function mentally to do things like admin and emails and responding to people. It was like I just had this mind block where I just struggled to do it. I just thought, I'm tired. I don't want to, I can't deal with this stuff. So I would wake up in the morning and I would get all of the thing in the past. I would get all of the admin, all of the emails, all of the things I needed to do first thing, because after 3 o'clock, there was no chance it wasn't happening. And what I found was after taking Neola, I was up until 9, 10 o'clock at night, still like coming up with ideas, speaking to people, so that for me, it was brain function. I found that my brain was just working more optimally. I also found that I was less bloated, and my skin, actually, I found that my skin actually felt better. I felt healthier. And that was within a couple of weeks of taking it. And then it was after that, then I moved on to a product that's called Xenobiotic. And basically what it is, it's a prebiotic blend that actually, instead of like adding probiotics, which you can get from like kombucha and things like that, which a lot of people are doing, instead of adding probiotics into the mix of your microbiome, what it does is it feeds the good bacteria that you've got that's already there. So rather than trying to overpopulate, with external probiotics, the science behind it is to feed the good bacteria that you've got. And after starting taking that, I just noticed that, just everything just seems to be working so much better, to be honest. I mean, I just feel like my energy levels are higher, and I feel good inside. So overall it's good so far. So I've only like started in July. So it's that what basically this particular company is saying, that is, if you retest after 120 days, they're pretty much not guaranteeing exactly, but saying if you do stick to that, then you'll be in balance after 120 days of taking this particular oil and products that they're using. So we'll see.
There's not many, and I personally, I've never come across any sort of company or product that can really say that. And I think I think with anything, proof is in the pudding. But what's really interesting is what we call the new normal. There's so many people that think being tired, being lethargic, feeling tired, not sleeping problem is normal to them. And actually, you don't have to be sick. You don't have to go through all that. Get yourself tested. Look at your health and well-being, take self-responsibility and make some changes. It's not normal feeling like that, because a lot of people now that I speak to, it's just the way it is. And it's like not normal to feel tired. And, you should be able to feel energized all day and not needing to sleep in the afternoon and slump and not have enough brain function. And I think that's really important at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I actually really like about this particular approach is that at the minute, there is kind of this backlash against the sort of pharmaceutical industry. It's like it's like almost like anti-science. It's like anything that's science, like we don't want to know. Like there is like this attitude of it. And then there is obviously a lot of people now that are, trying alternative health products, and but the problem is with the alternative health product side of it is there's no real regulation around it. There's no real guidance of exactly what we should be taking. Is this actually doing us any good? And I think that this particular way of working, so we work, you're working with natural health products, but at the same time, you're testing before and after the product to see if it works. I mean, it's genius. For me, it's just like, this is the future of nutrition. And, it's like I said, in Europe now, there already is, it's already happening. There is this buzzword of test-based nutrition, which for me, it just makes complete sense. That's why as soon as I was introduced to it, I was like, once I started like researching a little bit more about the product, just making sure that it was all good. I was right on it.
Is the product that you're promoting there with omegas and other things sort of something after the 100 days after you've taken them, after you sort of got tested again and you're balanced? Should that be it then, or should you then continue that? Because I find that with any kind of sort of, I mean, you've gone through it yourself, haven't you? You don't end up taking any kind of product for life and allow it to become a crutch. You want to absorb it what you need, and then look at your diet as well. Sort of, what's your sort of thoughts on that then with the balance?
I think that to take an omega-3, the free oil, you could take it for forever. I think that it's just the thing is you can adjust your diet, and that will help. I mean, you should adjust your diet as well. But the only thing is there's certain things that is hard to get from food alone. To get the optimum amount of omega-3, you'd have to eat line caught fish every day, and that's an expensive way to live. Now, some people could do that, but many people can't. Now, the saddest thing is that there's children coming back at like 75 to 1, and then there's kids. And the thing is, and there's like kids, that have got like autism, ADHD and things like that. And they're being tested and they're like ridiculously out of balance, and then, they go to the grannies and they're getting fed sweets and popcorn and, and all, it's a cultural disease. The lack of nutrition. And I think that, with diet being one side of it, there is certain things that it's unrealistic to be able to get the optimum amounts that you need through food alone. So for me, the three main things, this is from my own research, the three main things that need to be supplemented is omega-3, vitamin D, and magnesium. They're the three main things that from my research, that most people are deficient in them three things. Now, the thing is, right, if you're getting the optimum levels of magnesium, your electrolytes, into your body, you're getting the vitamin D for your immune system, and you're getting the omega-3, which is going to help to keep your cells healthy, then you will absorb the nutrients that you get from your other food so much better. Now, the thing is, for me, is that my cell membrane fluidity was so poor that the food that I was eating wasn't giving me the nourishment that I needed. So I would say to anybody who's trying to look at healing a health problem through food is check your fatty acid balance first, because you could be taking supplements like, it could be, maybe you're deficient in iron, or maybe you're deficient in something else. You could find that out from a blood test, but it might not be that you're not getting enough iron in your system. It might be the fact that you're not absorbing it. So start with the cells. This is the science. There's some top level. I mean, I'm talking like top level scientists that are pushing this, that are like completely in the know. They've done extensive research on cell membrane fluidity and how important that is to have that balance. If you are not in balance, you are not going to be properly absorbing nutrients and the things that you need. So why would you, try and test for everything and then see if you're deficient in everything, when you could actually just fix your cells first, by getting your omega-3 fatty acids in balance, and then see, because it might be that rectifies the problem and you're not iron deficient anymore. You're not deficient in something else because you're absorbing your nutrients properly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, just it's so simple.
Absolutely.
I mean, you want all the doctors to know about that, don't you? You want all the GPs to test everybody. You'll all be sorted.
The thing is, it's not hidden knowledge. It's not. It's absolutely not. You Google it; it's everywhere on the internet. There's hundreds of papers on it. It's not something that's like. It's not even new. It's not even new research. It's been there for a while. Like people, believe it or not, go onto the World Health Organization website, and the World Health Organization are telling you about it. How fucked up's that? The ones that are pushing the whole,
the agenda.
And then if you go onto the website, they've got some pretty good nutrition, and they've got some pretty good nutrition advice on it.
Oh my god! You can't write it, can you? You can't write it. It's like a comedy act. Who's the more fools, them or us?
Yeah,
exactly.
But what I'd be interested to know, Lewis, is as a facilitator at the Inner Guru, and do you feel for these like spiritual and well-being hubs that around the world of the UK that this is a part of moving forward of offering these alternative health practices in line with the spiritual side as well?
See, I'm glad that you asked that question, because the thing is with people that are sort of more focused on the spiritual, that side of it, tend to neglect. I mean, this isn't like a judgment, by the way. I don't like stereotyping, because not everybody is the same. But generally, what I've noticed is that people who are more in spiritual communities, so to speak, tend to neglect the physical body. It's more focused on the spiritual body, and the physical body tends not to get as much credit. And we are whole. It's true. It is true. Now, not everybody. No. I don't want to upset I don't want to upset anybody who's like, I'm spiritual and I also do this. Yeah, I know that some people do, but I think that it's something that's not focused on as much as what it should be. And it's not just the spiritual communities. It's every community, really. It's not focusing on the physical body so much as much as what we should. When it comes, especially, it's nutrition, basically. And I think that it's a holistic approach. When we talk about holistic healing, holistic, therapy, holistic means whole. You're not one without the other. We're not spirit without the body, but we're not the body without the spirit. We need to be looking at things from all angles. And that's why I'm now incorporating this into the work that I was doing, because, with kambo, I believed at one point that kambo, it's not so much about nutrition. It's, healing trauma, and we're clearing away energy, and we're purging the body of what it doesn't need. But then I was actually neglecting, what does the body need though? What needs to be there? What does the body need for maintenance? So for me, I feel like it's the missing link. Especially for the work that I'm doing, especially when you're working with trauma, because I was doing a lot of work with people with trauma that have health issues, and my approach was deal with the trauma and clear away the energetic blockages and things like that, and the body will just heal itself, which on some degree it can. But why not hit it from both angles? Why not deal with the trauma, through things like kambo or other therapies, energy healing, things like that. And then also giving the body what it needs, because I do believe that trauma has a big part in illnesses. But also, if you can bring in good gut bacteria, and stop the inflammation in your cells, then you're healing from all angles. And I think that for me, that there is the missing link. So I think that answering your question about whether people, from different hubs and things like that should be on board with this is yes, because why not? And it's not just the hubs that should be on board with it. my belief is that everyone should be on board with it, because it's inflammation, like I say, it's one of the biggest causes of disease in the world, and gut health as well. It's like, it just makes sense. Look after your gut, look after your body, look after your cells. And one thing that I found as well is that, like, my unhealthy eating habits, like even like little cravings of things like that have gone. I just don't feel the need to want to eat like lots of sugar and and binge, which I would do from time to time. I wouldn't give myself too much of a hard time about it, but I feel that by looking after my body now and correcting these things, that I'm no longer craving things that I used to. And I believe that that's a lot to do with your gut bacteria. But yeah, so I think that this is something that everybody should get on board with, and I believe that they will at some point. I think that this is the start of a new movement, and I think that why not utilize the technology that's there? If it's gonna help us to identify exactly what it is that we need, then it just makes complete sense to me.
Yeah,
it does to me as well,
huge
because
awareness of
sorry, Chris,
of people. I think there's been seems to me like the people we met and come across, that there's been more and more awareness of the impact that trauma can have on the body in recent years. And it seems like, I agree that we seem to be coming into this era now where even I could speak personally for myself, go down that route, and we do as much as we possibly can. Then there comes to a point, right, I really need to start taking more responsibility for my physical body, and looking at that. And you even notice now, I'm noticing more and more personal trainers and people like that sort of incorporating health and well-being as well. So further over on the physical side of things, they're welcoming it in the other side, in balance.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. I mean, I understand as well from in Europe that a lot of PTs now, especially in like countries like Scandinavia and places like that, like Norway and Sweden, most PTs now aren't even taking on new people until they've been blood tested.
It's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I just want to sort of make a point as well, because as a consumer's perspective, because we're all consumers as well, and I used to do this. You go online and there's a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to supplementation, and you can get really overwhelmed with things, can't you? You read one thing and then another thing says that, and then don't shop at this shop, and there's a lot of confusion. I don't know if it's intentional or unintentional, and a lot of them sort of confuse the person that is looking at different types of supplements. And I think, looking at your approach sort of simplifies it, keeps it simple. And I think a lot of people will sort of feel and nourished by this, that would feel a bit less confused. I mean, you just go to like a place like Holland and Barrett. I mean, the majority of things that you're buying now, not dissing the company, a lot of them are incredibly weak. And like you said, you're taking things that sometimes your body doesn't even need. And I've fallen into that often. I'm just going to shove all these supplements in my body, hoping that the body's going to absorb it. And actually, it's doing more harm. I don't know if it's harm, but it's a negative effect to the body. So really, there's a lot of sort of confusion out there, I think.
Yeah, there is, especially that 100%. Like, it's kind of unregulated, in a way.
Yeah.
Especially like Holland and Barrett stuff is not very good, to be honest. It's the quality of it. For example, like the omega-3s, from Holland and Barrett's, like you're just not. There's not enough, and the main thing that you're looking for in omega-3 is the DHA, and there's different types of omega-3s, and it's worth looking into them, because you're not going to, you could be buying a brand, from somewhere like Holland and Barrett's, and you're not getting the right level of omega-3. So it's definitely worth doing your research on that before you start. Just buy it, because people could listen to this and go, oh, I'll just buy some from Holland and Barrett's, and you can take omega-3 supplement and it's just nowhere near the amount of omega-3 that you need. And yeah, you could end up spending a fortune on loads of different supplements, and you actually don't even really need them. So it can be you can be taking far too much or spending money and not getting enough. So it's important to speak to people that understand it, you know. And the beauty about the products that I'm working with at the minute is that you can test yourself. They're giving you the right dose. They're giving you what you need. And then, you know, there's nowhere else out there really. I've not come across any company really that is offering, you know, an independent, which it is independent blood test, by the way. It's done from a lab called Vitas, which is based in Scandinavia, but it's a lab that does testing for like Oxford University and many other places like that. And you send off the test. You don't put your name on it. You don't put any details on it. You just get a little card. You send them the blood test. They don't know who you are. They do the results and then they send it back. You basically go onto the website, you put the code in, and it comes up. So you could be anyone, you know. So it's completely anonymous blood testing. That was one of the things actually. I was like, oh yeah, how convenient. Yeah, you sell a product that you test, and you know, and then you will test again, and you're proving all these amazing results. I thought, yeah, how convenient. But yeah, obviously, the more research I've done is that actually it's completely independent. It's done by a separate entity. So for me, it was like, wow, it's pretty bulletproof. To be fair, there's not many other companies that are offering that, where they can test you before and after their product. So I think that's the future, really. I think, you know, as in a world where there's so much, misinformation, like you're saying, Stephen, about, you know, not understanding what it is that you're taking in this kind of world paradigm that we're in right now. For companies to come along and do these blood tests, you know, and offer that before and after the product, I think it's just these are the sort of companies you should be trusting. I think that more companies in the future will follow suit, because, well, especially the good ones will. The good ones will, because they'll be like, well, we want to prove that our product is better. But at the minute, it's like, just believe us. Take it, snake oil, isn't it? It's snake oil service. Just take this and it'll make you feel better. Like, you know, there's all kinds of stuff out there at the minute that people are selling, you know, that have been known to have good health benefits. But how do you know if it's working? How do you know, really? Because there's a placebo effect in a lot of things. And if you could be taking something, placebo effect's very real, by the way, and I'm not going to like take anything away from that. If you believe something's working, then it's working. But I mean that, you know, it's so much better and so much trustworthy to have a product that you can blood test yourself before you take it, and you can blood test yourself after you take it. So yeah. I think that is the future. I think that new people, more and more people are focused on it now. That means that there's a bigger market for it, and I think that more companies will get onto it. I think that, you know, in the next 10 years, I think that it's going to be something that's pretty household.
Amazing. Just want to, before I hand over to Chris, I've been very eager tonight. I've just found this very fascinating.
Go for it.
Because it's something tangible people can take with them and do, which I think people like. People like to take action, and really there's a lot more awareness, which is absolutely amazing. Now I want to talk a little bit about mental health. And I think, you know, you talked about, you know, the rise of ADHD and bipolar, mental health in children on the rise, is getting worse. I just wonder, and I get the feeling that a lot of this sort of, when we talk about just like omega-3 or D3, vitamin D, that there is such a shortage in people's diets that is affecting. And I found this as well. A lot of the work that we've been doing over the years, everyone talks about heart health, liver health, stomach health, and it's the brain people so often neglect. And talk about this sort of the product that you're promoting there, how it can have such a positive effect with the mind and the brain. It could help people with mental health.
So the thing is that it's the DHEs, which are a type of omega-3. They need to get to the brain for the brain to function properly. Our brain cells need these omega-3s to operate properly. It's inflammation, basically. If there's enough omega-3s in the brain, then the cells in the brain aren't inflamed. It's the inflammation in the brain that causes brain diseases. Now, or things like now I know that there's a lot of people that have been doing work with people like children who've got autism and who've got conditions like ADHD or what's the other one that we mentioned?
Bipolar, mental health. I mean, even with Alzheimer's, dementia as well.
Yeah, things like that. They are actually, it's been shown that they've been linked to inflammation in the brain. Now, it's the omega-3s that are the anti-inflammatory agents. They're what you need. But the thing is that they need to get to the brain. So the thing is that there's a certain type of omega-3 oil that enables it to get into the brain properly. It doesn't just go straight to the brain. It has to sort of pass through the digestive tract and then into the blood, and then it finds its way to the brain. So it's a long journey. Not all products, omega-3 products that you take, can make that transition. They actually need to be held in what's called a triglyceride form. And because the triglycerides, basically what they do is they act as like little carriers, and they will throw the DHAs over the cell membrane, the blood-brain barrier into the brain. And that will enable then the brain to start to absorb these anti-inflammatory agents, such as the omega-3s. The thing is as well is that a lot of products don't have, is that they don't have a very long efficacy. So they don't last very long in the body. And then what happens is that the acid in the stomach starts to decompose it, and then they start to go rancid, especially with fish oil. And that's why a lot of people who take like, cheaper products and like cod liver oil tablets, things like that, end up with like burps, like fishy burps, and it's like rancid because it doesn't, in a certain temperature, these particular types of oil will decompose, and you're not going to get the right EPA, DHA content to the brain. So that's another reason why this product's really good, is because it contains polyphenols. Polyphenols are what are found in like premium, like high quality sources of olive oil. Olive oil being a huge factor in longevity in life in countries like Sicily, the blue zone countries. I don't know if you've heard about that. The certain places in like Tokyo and in Japan and it's Sicily and places like that. So this is another thing is like olive oil as well. This, oils and fats, they're just like, we were taught like that, fat is really, really bad for you, but actually we need it so much. Like it's really, really important that we get good level fats in our diets.
It's the rise of vegetarianism and veganism as well that I think it's done. I mean, Chris were talking about it. I think that's, in my opinion, I was a vegetarian, then I was a vegan for nearly 2 years. And I have to say, I didn't feel healthy through it. And now that after the past sort of 12 months, I've been eating a little bit more meat and more fat, I feel different. I feel healthy. My skin's clearing up. So I don't know. And I think with a lot of products now, they put so much crap in some of the soya products and some of the other sort of processed stuff that isn't really healthy for you. There's actually doing more damage. So there's a lot of, again, misinformation, mis-selling, which confuses. I think there's a lot of confusion out there. I think that's the big issue. You've got one person saying that, and then you've got the government saying this, and you're thinking, what am I listening to? It's like, I laugh about the bananas. Some people say it's great for you. Some people say it's not. So it's crap in a way, and it's very confusing with people, and we need to change it. We need to bring proper information out there, trusting companies like, the company that you were promoting there, Lewis, that people can trust and feel and sense.
Yeah, I think that it's really important because it's like a minefield out there. Like you just don't know. But I mean, like I'd say that just trying to eat as naturally as possible, you're not going to go very wrong. Processed foods are the biggest cause of inflammation because of the amount of omega-6s and that the like pro-inflammatory fats that are contained in them, like seed oils, things like that. Believe it or not, like there's research that proves it. Things like ghee, butter, and like lard and things like that aren't actually as bad as what you think. They're actually it's the processed stuff. It's like the margarines and the things like that are like really unhealthy. Like seed oil based stuff is what's really unhealthy. Like when you like I think you just need to go back to eating things like like proper butter and like things like that. It's actually not that bad. Things that are the worst for you is like rapeseed oil and things like that, but it's in a palm oil and things. It's in a lot of products. It's in a lot of things. Anything that's kind of processed usually has some kind of seed oil in it. So these are like the ones that we really need to start trying to avoid, really.
Yeah, I was really, I kind of knew a little bit, but I was taken aback. Somebody we met and on a previous podcast, Jeremy Ayres, and he was talking about oils and sunflower oils, vegetable oils, and and when you start looking at how many things they are in food, in something I was having the vegan butter for quite a while, to be honest, and I literally felt like I got turned around and pulled in the supermarket say you need to go back to real butter. And I've heard so many times it must be something really of the moment that we need to hear, because I've heard more than one person talking about the times when everything was fried in animal fat.
Yeah.
So we're eating the same foods, but they weren't doing the damage. And since that's all changed, that predominantly now most fried foods are fried in vegetable oils or some kind of seed oil.
Yeah.
It's processed food it's the worst. It's like, just get back to your health, get back to the old school stuff. The thing is as well, it's like the a lot of food, even like fruit and veg now, it's sprayed. There's pesticides that kill the phytonutrients. And the thing is that a lot of the nutrients a lot of the best nutrients come from the phytonutrients, which are actually mostly found on the skin of fruit and vegetables. And because obviously of like like that's why organic stuff is the best. It's expensive, but it is so much better to eat for you. It's has a lot more nutrient dense than non-organic, places that have been sprayed with pesticides. Because believe it or not, the skin of fruit is actually really full of nutrients, phytonutrients. That's why another product that's a part of this range, like this, the three main products, like part of this health protocol, is called Extend, and it's essentially like a multivitamin, but it's contained with all organic ingredients that come from phytonutrients. So they've managed to get like the best of all, the multivitamins into one capsule. One pill. And it's the main source of that is phytonutrients that come from the organically grown fruit and veg.
What's your thoughts on? I mean, a lot of people, like Stephen said, and I've been down that route a little bit of going vegetarian or vegan, or sometimes feeling the need that we should be doing that, and then the balance between eating meat and eating plant-based or vegetarian. What's your thoughts on that with your experiences?
So I was a vegan myself for a while, and it was pretty. My health declined pretty quickly. But I was doing diets, in the Amazon, doing ayahuasca diets where I was, on a pretty much vegan diet. And it was actually while I was there that towards the end of it, they give you the option to have some fish. And I was just so hungry, like, because they were giving us the bare minimum. I was just like, I will eat anything right now. Yes, and as soon as I had that fish in my mouth, the feeling was, my body was just like, it was just relief. As soon as I ate it, it was just like, wow. that is exactly what I needed. And yeah, it was from then on that I started eating. I started eating little bits of fish, and then now I eat meat. I eat fish. Yeah, I'll eat whatever it is that I feel that my body needs. I think that it's good to know where your food's coming from. I think that that's really important. I'm not against, I've got family members who are vegan, and and friends, it's a preference, it's fine. But the fact is, and they may not like to want to hear it, is that it's hard to keep a healthy body on a vegan diet, believe it or not, unless you are cooking, from scratch every day. It's going to be hard, because the majority of vegan products are not healthy. And that's the fact.
Spot on. Well, the proof's in the pudding. We've all experienced, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've all gone through it, and I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
And I think it's important as well that people don't feel they should or follow what someone else is doing, because our bodies are all totally unique in what they need in many ways as well. What works for one person isn't going to necessarily work for another, and it's something I see a lot, and probably I've done it a few times, to be honest, where you go, well, that person's doing that, so I'm going to try it. And then it might not be right for you, so it's doing what's right for your body and its needs.
Yeah, you've got to listen to your body at the end of the day. Like, fair enough if you really can't, for me, like if you really can't stand the thought of eating an animal, or it's absolutely fine, but just be careful. I'd say just look, do blood, get yourself tested. If you're a vegan, you should be getting yourself tested more than anybody, because I can guarantee that you're going to be out of balance. If you're a vegan, you are not going to be in balance. Unless you're eating kilos of walnuts every day, you're not going to be in balance. Your cells are going to be inflamed. You're not going to be healthy. And I don't care what anyone says, it's a fact. You're not going to be. But there is solutions. There is solutions. If you're a vegan, there is you can get omega-3 from algae. There's a product that you can get that actually, and this company actually that I'm promoting actually created a product that works for vegans. And it comes from an algae, because believe it or not, omega-3 actually comes from algae originally. It's the fish that eat it that have the omega-3. So it does actually come, but it's very, very hard to manufacture, and it's quite expensive. But if you choose to be a vegan, and you do care about your health, then you can't put a price on health. If you are adamant that you don't want to put any kind of other living being in your, you don't want to consume or any kind of dead animal, or any kind of, anything that's linked to an animal, then I would highly recommend considering looking into getting yourself tested for your omega-3, and perhaps looking into a good source of omega-3 that comes from algae.
Yeah, it's interesting, because when we interviewed that Jeremy, and he's been working as a nutritionist for like 30 years. He's massive. He's wrote books and stuff. And he said a majority of his unhealthy clients have been those that have been a vegan and vegetarian. And a lot of them end up sort of starting eating a bit of meat, and the health completely changed for the positive. And it just, the science there as well. So there's, again, a lot of misinformation, but I find that people are waking up, I get the feeling that we're becoming a lot more conscious, and people questioning. They want to know where the food comes from, what I'm actually putting in my mouth here. So our relationship with food, I think, has gone for the positive. People are questioning, and like you said, there is a movement. We want to eat better, and and it's changing. Let's change it. Let's get this conversation out there and bring that awareness out there.
It's the thing is as well, like you can also have too much meat. In my blood test, the blood test that I done, it come back that I was eating slightly too much red meat, or poultry. It comes, there's a particular fatty acid called arachionic acid. Correct me if it's right. Something arachionic acid, and that comes from red meat. Now you'd eat it. You'd eat it in your diet. You need to have this particular acid in your diet. It's an omega-6, but you actually, if you don't have enough of it, then it contributes to poor health as well. So if you have too much of it, it's also unhealthy. That's why it's good to get yourself tested for your fatty acids, because they all play a huge part in your overall well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think, sort of moving forward now, that this is, like I say, I feel things seem to come in waves, that this is a wave of sort of really starting to physically and spiritually, I suppose, heal our relationship with food, and what's become a little bit muddled over the years with mass production of meat, really, where one time it would be just have what we need. And that's just a small example. Do you think that's part of the wave of slowly stepping away from this?
So you say that again, sorry.
Yeah, just sort of what we're coming into now in terms of if you want to call it a wave, another change coming about. Do you think this is part of healing our relationship with food? Individually and collectively. How we eat, what we eat, that has possibly become a bit muddled over the years with, for example, mass production of food and more food being taken than possibly what we need, and stepping away and coming back to a more natural way of consuming our food. People used to, like, for example, where I live in Fleetwood, a lot of people used to have allotments. They used to grow their own fruit and vegetables.
I hope so.
Like that.
I hope so, because I think that usually when things get worse, like if you look at like Bill Gates, for example, and his project at the minute is, which is scary shit of like mass manufacturing, like this fake meat products, and it's just like, there is an agenda out there to push this stuff even more seed or more processed stuff, more, and there's usually things will have that sort of polarized effect where there will be people that will be like, no, hang on, this is going too far one way, let's get back to basics. I'm hoping I think that's where people will be going. So I think that there always has to be that sort of polar opposite of something being pushed in one direction for people to back up and go, whoa, actually, we're not going to do that. Let's start growing our own stuff again. But I think the education is there around it, and it is getting out there more. So I think that you're right. I think that this is part of a new movement.
Yeah, the big message I've took, Lewis, from what you've said tonight is, as well, do your research.
Yeah.
In any area, do your research, look at things, look what's in things. If you're looking at supplements or anything, check them out. Don't just have them on face value. That's really important.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, 100%. Like, it's just do your research, really. Speak to people that that know what they're talking about as well. That's what I'd say. Is don't take advice from just anyone, because the thing is that there's so many different people selling things now and pushing things. I think that it's important to try and find if it's got credible research behind it before you just buy anything, and just check like where that product's coming from and things like that. I think it's really important to do your research.
There is one product that I've been taking that's have you heard? Obviously, you've heard of sea moss gel. What's your thoughts on that? I felt quite good by taking sea moss. Would you say that's quite of a good thing or not? What's your thoughts on that? Because there's a lot of that going on at the moment, saying it's the new minerals and things like that.
Yeah, I think that sea moss is fantastic. It contains a lot of minerals, and we are deficient in minerals. I don't think that there's, I think that it's a good product. I don't personally use it. I didn't really like it. I think Shilajit is a fantastic product. I only know that because I feel good off it when I'm taking it. I feel like I've got more energy. And it does. I do feel good off it, but there's limited research on it. How much we should be taking and things like that. I think that you know, it's a great product. You know, it's unregulated as well. You know, you don't know if it's going to be a good quality. CMOS, yeah, there's a lot of people selling that now. Yeah, I don't really want to comment too much on that because I don't really know that much about CMOS. I do know I do know bits, but like I said, there's not as much regulation on CMOS.
Yeah, it's a little bit the same with the Sylogy. I've had that myself and found it like positive results, but also when I was looking and trying to do some research on it, there was all sorts, whether it should be regular or whether you should, how you should take it and things like that. And I think you made a good point. I always think we live in a world of extremes one way or another, and there's always the sweet spot in the middle. Like you say, not pushing all the science and going, right, we're just going to bar it all with the same brush. Everything's needed and just bringing it in, somewhere in the middle is right, exactly where we need to be.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So what I'd be really interested to know, I feel like I hope everybody's listening has just found this really interesting, and sure, if you want to connect with Lewis and find out more, I'm sure he'd be happy to share with you. But in the time, how long have you been open now, the Inner Guru?
Since the beginning of 2020. No, sorry, not the beginning. Sorry, It wasn't the beginning. It was eight. But I moved in April 2020.
Yeah, and I know your work continues to advance there. And what changes have you seen? I mean, obviously, the world has fast forwarded a lot. These last 3 years feel like they've just zipped by. So much has happened. And what changes are you seeing in your clients, in your community as it grows?
Yeah, so it was great actually, because on Friday we done like a little fundraising thing, and some people that came and haven't been for a while came back, and we done like a sharing circle. And it was really nice to just hear people's stories of how much they've grown and how much they're developing. People doing their own little circles and setting up their reaching into their own little communities. So it's amazing. Like I kind of like forgot sort of the impact that the center had. Until like I do these little sharing circles. We had some film crew come over to the hub earlier on in the week as well, and there's people that were sharing there about their stories and how they've grown. I was like, wow, that's really nice to hear, like how people have developed themselves since doing work there. So yeah, it's amazing. It's a ripple effect. I think that once you light one heart up and it spreads. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And I think that word community is like people coming together more and more. No, you've done a heck of a lot of work with men's mental health and such as well.
Yeah.
And did since we last spoke, I remember we spoke a while ago on it, and do you feel things are coming along with that in terms of it, being able to be facilitated better, in what you're offering as well?
Yes, 100%. Like the men's work we're doing is it's so much needed. With the work that we're doing more recently with the probation services, like giving people an opportunity to find community and rehabilitate themselves as well. I think that it's really important.
Yeah,
wow, seems very nourishing. That's amazing. Yeah, it's me and Chris went to a men's gather place in Cumbria. I think you know Kieran, don't you? You know Kieran.
Yes.
You connected with him, and he was there, and it was actually lovely. I mean, we you've been to the Purple Mountain. A lot of our clients are females, and it was really nourishing. Sort of being around other men, which sometimes could be quite scary, but it was great just to really, and I think there needs to be more of that. And I didn't realize actually, Lewis, there's not many places out there for just men.
Yeah,
I've not seen it. I don't know what your thoughts on. We need more community of men coming together.
Yeah, 100%. I feel that it's necessary that there's like a brotherhood, that people, that men have other men that they can lean on and trust and support each other. I think that especially males you know, there's a lot of distortion, that men carry, and that they're not like women so much. They're not as good at sharing, and that's why there's a massive imbalance there. I mean, when it comes to like suicide, 80% roughly is like the suicide, sorry, the 80% of all suicides are males, so just that figure alone goes to show, doesn't it, that there's not enough out there to support men, and it also emphasizes the fact that there is a need for a focus on men.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I'd be the first to admit I didn't recognize it some time ago, but definitely the last 12 months I'm recognizing it more and more. And when I was on that men's gathering event that we went to, it was really eye-opening. It was good for us, but it was great to hear people and see people from not just say a spiritual community, but all walks of life, and they all had a story to tell. They all felt comfortable to tell that story, and we're talking from being quite young, like teenagers, up to older men as well. So breaking that barrier of age as well. I found that's a bit of a separation that we find, and coming together that way.
Yeah, 100%.
So I just it's been really enjoyed this time and what you shared, Lewis, but I just wanted to get in a little bit actually about kambo before we finish up. And I know you're a very experienced practitioner and teacher, and that you travel as well. And I'd just like to hear your thoughts actually about kambo, because I suppose in a way to the Western world it's still quite new, isn't it, in many ways? So how do you feel that the kambo movement itself is evolving as you're obviously teaching more and more practitioners now as well?
So the movement is evolving, which is great. But also there's some concern as well, like about the fact that it's possible you can just like basically, I don't even like saying it, but I will. You can just buy a kambo stick like off the internet, and like there's so many health risks that are involved with kambo. If it's not done, if you're not trained correctly, if you don't understand the safety procedures and things that you need to do, if someone faints, and contraindications and things like that, and just understanding the medicine, how it works, I think that it's crucial that people go through some level of intensive training to be able to facilitate it. Now, I'm pleased that the practitioners that I'm teaching are out of good standard, and I'm really happy about the community that we have, that we can help each other and share our experiences with each other, and everybody's taught in the same way, and I've never had any issues, touch wood, and I'm almost certain that if people practice in the safe way, then that's not going to happen. But I mean, so in regards to like the sort of the positive aspect of it is that it's changed people's lives like drastically. It's some kambo is a medicine for me that can do deep inner work in such a short space of time. There's like nothing like it. There's people that have come with like deep trauma and they're able to like blast through layers of it like in such a short period of time. So many, such few treatments. There's just like, for me, witnessing the results from people from kambo is the most rewarding thing that I do, to be able to see. And not only that, it's like teaching practitioners and seeing their potential, and then knowing that they're going to be passing that to their communities and their friends, and just it's kambo for me is such a pure spirit. When we talk on a spiritual level, like the energy of kambo is just pure, and the lives that it's touching and the way that it works, it just fascinates me. 10 years in from starting the journey with it, and I'm still learning. I'm still understanding how the intelligence of the medicine works. For me, kambo is just like so close to my heart, and I'm just really, really, really proud an honor, and it's an honor to be a carrier of the medicine. But the biggest honor is to be able to witness people who are trained, you know, stepping into themselves, stepping into their truth, stepping into their purpose. For me, that makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing, very inspirational.
Yeah, so it's been amazing to speak with you, Lewis. And anybody who wants to connect with Lewis and the Inner Guru, will post all relevant links, and you can check out all their offerings. If you're anywhere near or you're dropping by the Liverpool area, we highly recommend a visit and check out the offerings at the Inner Guru as well. So thanks so much, Lewis.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate you giving you time. And I know you've sort of moved today as well, so you've pushed us in still. You still found time for us, so it's appreciated.
Yeah, I really appreciate you. It's nice. It's nice to talk about these things. So yeah, thank you for inviting me.
No, it's always a pleasure. It's great to share. And I hope everybody who's listened, hope you've enjoyed it. If you got any comments, any questions, feel free to comment wherever you're watching us or seeing us at this moment in time. And once again, just want to thank Lewis and everyone listening. Until we speak again, send lots of love to everyone. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.